was yesterday, 53 degrees in Iba, Zambales. So meron po tayong mga forecast rain, forecast temperature. The highest for May, 31.5 to 40.8 degrees for northern Luzon, 31.7 to 39.8 for lowlands of Luzon. Mountainous Luzon will be 26.3 to 29. Metro Manila, 36.5 to 38.3. Lowland Visayas, 32.5 to 37.5 degrees centigrade. Lowlands Mindanao, 33.4 versus up to 38.8. And Mountainous Mindanao would be 34 to 36.3 degrees. So mainit po, kasagsagan ng May, and then June, pababa na po yung temperatura. And Pag-asa has a forecast of around 10 to 13 tropical cyclones expected. And of course, if La Nina will actually occur by the last quarter of the year, then we will see most of this towards the second half of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary Solidum. Secretary Solidum is also the co-chair of Task Force El Nino. We will not open the floor yet to questions from the media. We will wait until all our guests have finished with their presentations. So maybe we can go to Secretary Herbosa for his intervention.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. From the Department of Health, as mentioned, really, because of El Nino, our heat index has been shooting up to as high as 50, which are danger levels in terms of what the human body can take. So reminders to everyone, first of all, see yung mga high risk, tinatawag natin, the senior citizens, actually up to 50 or above, and very young children are what we call high risk sa effects of this high heat index. So pag nagde-danger or nag-orange level yung heat indices, very important, wag ma-expose. So this is an exposure illness. So kung hindi ka lalabas sa very hot areas, yung risk mo bababa. So the other high-risk people are people who work outside. So at also who do sports, yung recreation. So kailangan conscious sila if they can avoid doing recreational activities during the times 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mas maganda kasi dun yung high risk na magkaroon ka ng heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and can lead to heat stroke and death, no? Pwedeng mamatay. So far, we have been monitoring the heat-related illnesses, although hindi ito reportable, no? Kasi many of them recover. But we have in our records hospitals that have reported 34 cases of heat-related illness na naitalaga na sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas. Majority of this happened actually in a place in Mindanao. And then there are reported deaths pero questionable pa. So I cannot verify that people have died. But what I can tell you scientifically is we really can die from heat illness. So ang reminders ko is the first aid for people experiencing heat cramps. You have to stop your activity. Kung ikaw ay outside working or ikaw ay outside doing sports, once you develop heat cramps, yung pamumulikat ng muscle, you need to stop your activity. Kailangan mong umalis dun sa area where you are and transfer to an area na cool. And then the next one, you may have to remove your clothes. Baka naka-jacket ka, baka naka-sweatsuit ka. Remove your clothes para mag-evaporate and then use basang bimpo and then hydrate. Now, ang tip ko sa hydration is very simple. People in sports have learned this already. They actually have created commercial sports drink. Pero sa totoo lang, yung sports drink pwedeng gawin ng anyone. Kumuha ka ng isang basong tubig, kumuha ka ng a pinch of salt at ilagay mo doon sa basong tubig. Meron na yung electrolytes because the salt is sodium, so potassium, and all iodine kasi iodized ang salt natin. So actually, you can do that with a pinch of salt. Huwag naman isang kutsara. It's just a pinch of salt. And that's enough. Kasi pag ang sweat natin, meron ding sodium. Yung cause ng cramps is really the lack of sodium sa body. So ang recommendation ko, very simple first aid. The next one is prevention. So wide brim hat, pagka lalabas ka, you need to go out in an activity. Wide brim hat to protect you from the sun. Umbrella, diba? Yung suot mo dapat yung tamang attire for very loose clothing cotton usually, and to make sure mas maganda kung white or lighter color so it can reflect sunlight and heat para hindi nakikip yung heat sa katawan mo. The best is really if you start to feel cramps, dehydration, is to get out of the environment. So pumasok sa lilim, pumunta sa aircon na kwarto at mag-rehydrate. So ang key dito, reminder and prevention. The second one I will talk about is really because of high heat, mabilis mapanis ang pagkain. So be careful with food that we eat because in a couple of hours, panis na yan. The only advice I will give is pag meron kayong nakain na delikado, put aside a little so we can analyze it. So we will know what microbe or bacteria ang naging etiology o cause ng inyong pagtatae. Mas madadalian yung doktor at ospital sa pagpapagamot sa inyo with the proper antibiotics if we have a sample of yung nag-cause ng food poisoning, lalo na kung maramihan yung kumain nun. But just put aside, wag itapon lahat, lagay sa isang lalagyang plastic bag at dalhin sa hospital para ma-analyze din namin. I think I will stop there and ask my other panelists to also comment. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Herbosa. Maybe we can go to DENR, Water Resources Management Office, Undersecretary C.P. David.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. C.P. David po sa DENR Water Resources Management Office, representing our Secretary, Sec. Tony Loizaga. I wish to apprise all our media friends here today of the situation in terms of our water resources, initially for the whole country and then later on we can focus on Metro Manila. For the rest of the country, we have been receiving reports of not having enough water in several provinces run by our water districts. Most of them are concentrated on the west side of the country, from Ilocos. Also in Bulacan, may reports na bumababa po ang water level natin sa ground. Palawan. And siguro ang pinaka-extreme case ngayon in terms of water supply will be in Zamboanga, particularly Zamboanga City. Lahat po sila nagre-report na bumaba ang level ng tubig sa kanilang mga deep well, pero ang report sa akin ay sapat pa hanggang sa ngayon ang supply. Bumaba ang productivity ng kanilang wells, ngunit sapat pa sa pangangailangan ng kanilang mga komunidad. Except for Zamboanga City, wherein they have been experiencing water interruption since February of this year. So, ang ginawa po ng DNR together with Land Bank is that we opened a loan instrument, a low-interest loan instrument with Land Bank, kung saan yung ating mga water providers ay pwedeng kumuha ng loan para may pondo sila para maibsan yung mga pangangailangan sa infrastruktura sa tubig, maging kung ang kailangan ay water tanker o kaya repair ng kanilang water pipes or palitan ng ibang pump ang kanilang mga deep well. So yan ay sa pakikipagtulungan with Land Bank of the Philippines. Sa Metro Manila naman, alam po ng lahat na ang reliance ng Metro Manila sa ating water supply, 90% po ng ating supply ay nanggagaling sa Angat Dam. 10% of our water comes from other sources already, including Laguna Lake, recycled water. Nag-open na rin po tayo ng mga deep well dito sa Metro Manila, pero 90% pa rin ng ating supply ay galing ng Angat Dam. Maraming intervention measures ang ginawa ng DNR nitong mga huling linggo para matipid natin yung tubig sa Angat Dam. Number one, hindi po napapansin siguro ng karamihan na habang sa gabi, hinihinaan po natin ang water pressure sa ating mga kabahayan. Hindi po yan napapansin gaano ng ating kababayan dahil hindi naman tayo sabay-sabay gumagamit ng tubig. Kaya yung reduction in water pressure ay hindi siya sagabal sa ating daily activities. Lalo na sa gabi lang ito ini-implement. Secondly, noong Holy Week, hindi rin naranasan ng marami sa ating mga Metro Manila residents na binawasan natin yung supply ng tubig from Angat dahil marami naman sa atin ay wala sa Metro Manila. So nakapagtipid rin tayo ng kaunti doon. Number 3, in terms of yung mga pagkukumpuni ng mga water leaks natin, hindi rin na-realize ng mga residente natin na yung mga water leaks natin, yung repairs nito, lalo na nung Holy Week na wala ng opisina, we did intervention measures there para paggawa kagad yung mga leaks kahit na hindi siya dumaan doon sa tamang proseso ng kunyari sa gobyerno dahil marami kang permits na kailangan i-secure para mag-excavate ng kalye at mag-repair, no? So in the case of having a water supply issue, kinumpuni po natin yung mga pipes na yan sa pakikipagtulungan doon sa may-ari ng kalye, yung Toll Regulatory Board, and our water service providers. Ang water level ng Angat sa ngayon ay nasa 188 meters. It is still above our minimum operating level of 180. However, I should say that while the supply is still enough, the decrease in water level in terms of its rate is quite alarming. Halos 0.4 hanggang half a meter ang binababa ng water level natin kada araw. And therefore, kailangan na nating magkaroon ng konting intervention, lalo na ang report ng Pag-asa ay below normal pa rin ang rainfall natin for May, possibly in June, at yung normal rainfall na ating mararanasan ay sa Agosto pa. Kaya ang strategy ng DNR at ng kanyang mga partner agencies ay simulan ang pagtitipid ng tubig. No, simula pa ng May kahit na sapat o sufficient pa ang ating supply. And I can talk to you more about our intervention plans for water later on. Sa ngayon, yun lang po muna. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Yusek David. Maybe Asek Demesa of DA.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. On behalf of the Department of Agriculture, Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr., let me present to you the latest updates on the damage and the interventions provided by the Department of Agriculture to our affected farmers and fishers. As of the latest bulletin that we issued, that is bulletin number 8, the total damage reported and validated by our department is about 4.39 billion pesos already. 4.39 billion pesos already. The department has provided already 2.16 billion worth of interventions to our farmers and fishers. Kasama po rito yung 1.065 billion worth of rice farmers financial assistance. Ito yung 5,000 na pinamamahagi natin sa mga apektadong magsasaka na hindi tataas sa 2 hektarya. And then we also provided 638 million worth of inputs. Ito yung mga seeds, fertilizers, and the like. We also provided 295 million worth of small-scale irrigation projects. In terms of our survival and recovery loan, we provided about 77.5 million to about 3,100 affected farmers. Under the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, PCIC have provided indemnification to about 7,322 farmers, totaling about 68 million pesos. Our livestock program provided more than 60,000 animals, and then our BIFAR have provided about 111 alternative livelihood projects for those fishers affected. Our Bureau of Soils and Water Management also provided or conducted cloud seeding operations, mostly in the Magat Reservoir, covering Quirino, Isabela, part doon po sa norte. And if needed, that kung merong seedable clouds in coordination with Pag-asa and OCD and Philippine Air Force, we will be conducting regular cloud seeding operations. About 11 regions na po yung affected ng El Nino. The whole of Luzon, Cordillera, Regions 1, 2, 3, 4A, 4B, 5, and then sa Visayas, itong Western Visayas, and for Mindanao, Region 9, Region 11, and Region 12. Hardest hit ang Mimaropa at 1.7 billion, and then followed by Western Visayas at 1.02 billion. At ang mga probinsya po na lubang naapektuhan ay Occidental Mindoro and the province of Palawan. That would be all. Thank you. Magandang hapon po.
Thank you, ASEC Arnel. We now go to ASEC Mario Marasigan of Department of Energy.
Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Well, medyo nasa spotlight po yung energy kasi for the last magti-3 weeks na our system operator have declared various red and yellow alerts. And in fact, last week, almost the whole week was Luzon and Visayas were in yellow alerts, partly on red alert, but Mindanao was also a party to the yellow alert that we had last week. So, ano yung analysis natin dito? Number one, we have seen the adjustment kung ano yung mga projections natin because it appears that the high temperatures coinciding with our peak demand happened earlier than our projections. Normally kasi yung peak demand natin, as we have projected before, nasa towards the last week or towards the end of May or the early part of June, as in our cases. But for this year, it's not only that the highest peak demand so far for the year happened in April 24 to be exact, and we surpassed our projection by almost 100 megawatts. We have projected some 19,917 megawatts of peak demand for this year, but last April 24, our demand peaked at 14,016 megawatts. Ganun din po sa Visayas and Mindanao. Our projections have been surpassed. Although sa Visayas po and Mindanao, hindi pa nalalagpasan yung ating mga projected peak demand. So, generally, how do we see Luzon? Our demand forecast appears to be higher. The actual demand appears to be higher by 500 megawatts. And then, nasabayan pa to ng mga outages ng mga planta natin, including the deratings of our hydropower facilities. Ang supply natin, based on our projection, is lower by 1,900 megawatts. So, all in all, the difference is about 2,000 megawatts sa difference natin sa demand forecast. But we were able to put some mitigating measures. Like, for example, we rely on the other uses of water. Mas priority po yung domestic and irrigation for kaysa sa power generation. So we rely on the actual discharge of our hydropower dams before generation. So that dictates now why there are derated hydropower facilities. But at the same time, we take these opportunities for these hydropower facilities to maintain and make some repairs on their facilities. So for today, ano yung outlook natin? We have yellow alert for Luzon, starting at 3 o'clock up to 5 o'clock, and also by 8 o'clock in the evening up to 11 o'clock in the evening. For Visayas and Mindanao, wala po tayong alert level for today. Kaya lang ang normal na tanong how shall we last until sabihin natin next week or the end of May? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are trying to correlate yung high temperature to increase in demand. Sabi ko nga na nagpasa natin yung peak demand requirements natin. So, we try to find other mitigating measures. Alam po natin, ang electric power industry, hindi lang yan yung energy na binibigay. We need to stabilize the grid. And for example, with the outage of Magat power facilities, the hydropower plant, it created an imbalance in our system. So wala po tayong support as far as voltage and frequency is concerned pagdating po dun sa northern part of Luzon. So to mitigate this, through the Task Force on Energy Resiliency, nagkaroon po tayo ng movement, inilipat natin yung capacitor bank from Isabela to Tuguegarao. So hopefully, malapit na po matapos yun. And even if tumaas yung demand natin sa northern part po ng Cagayan, then maa-address po nung ating capacitor bank yung supposedly services na binibigay ng Magat power facility. At the same way, we are trying to clear the complete transfer po ng 450 megawatts of power coming from Mindanao to Visayas. So that's one of the reasons why we are able to maintain yung good conditions ng Visayas. Specifically kasi may mga affected areas din tayo sa Visayas affected power facilities din in Visayas. We have several plants also in the rated capacities, some also on outage. But the lacking energy and capacity are being supplied by Mindanao. And at times, kung kinakailangan, even Luzon is contributing. During the non-peak hours of Luzon, we are also transporting or transmitting capacities from Luzon to Visayas. So, ganun yung scenario natin overall. So, for the next few weeks, naghihintay po kami kung ano yung magiging kalagayan ng panahon natin. And we are monitoring closely the return to service of our power generation capacity facilities that are still on outage. Yun ang minomonitor natin. At least one big plant, Masinloc Unit 1 is still on outage with a capacity of 334 megawatts. On the other hand, we are closely monitoring as well new power projects, particularly renewable energy. There are several projects that we are eyeing to be commissioned or to be tested up to the end of second quarter. And towards the third quarter po, mga full commercial operations na yan. We're looking at somewhere around 1,000 megawatts of renewable energy plus additional capacities from other conventional fuels. Mas maluwag po kasi pagdating na September kasi we expect na about 1,200 megawatts coming from natural gas facilities will be on stream. So for the meantime, up to June, we're looking at these solar power facilities. Like for example, over the weekend, nag-start na po yung testing and commissioning ng isang project natin sa Pangasinan. And this contributes around 100 megawatts, even at testing and commissioning stage. So that's all for the energy in the meantime. And mamaya na lang po question and answer should there be more clarification. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ASEC Marasigan. We can now open the floor to questions from the media. Meron pong dalawang microphones dyan. Please state your name and your media outlet and to whom you're addressing the question. Just a reminder, we have representatives from Pag-asa here who can expound on what Secretary Solidum already discussed. So ito po yung mga microphone for your questions. Thank you.
This drought, can we say that this is the worst in how many X years? What was the comparable period for this kind of drought so far?
In terms of the meteorological factors, I don't think it is, but let me ask those people with more memory than me. From Pag-asa sa detalye.
This 2023-2024 El Nino could be one of the worst. Kasi meron pa din pinaka-worst pa rin po yung 97-98. And kung titingnan po natin in terms of climate impact, so ganun din yung maraming na-breach na mga maximum daytime temperature during the 97-98 El Nino, as well as 2015-2016 strong El Nino. So matataas din yung mga temperature. And ngayon, medyo nalalampasan din yun. And kaya nasasabi natin na one of the worst, pero kasi kung ikukumpara natin in terms of sectoral impacts, mas madaming impact nung mga nakaraan 97-98 kasi may mga early interventions tayo and in strategies ngayon. So ibig sabihin, mas nakapag-prepare tayo sa ngayon. Kung hindi tayo nakapag-prepare ng maaga, siguro mas worse.
Secretary Herbosa mentioned that this heat can kill. Do we have records of heat-related deaths during equivalent or similar situations in the past, where there was drought or
Not during the drought, but we've had heat-related illnesses and deaths during sporting events. We've also had heat-related deaths in training, military training. So yun yung mga experiences in the past. So very extreme physical activity. Meron kaming 6 deaths ni report sa amin pero hindi kami sure kasi sometimes it's very hard to determine if the deaths are due to the heat stroke itself or the death is due to an associated illness. Kasi pwedeng na-heat cramps ka lang tapos na-atake ka sa puso or na-stroke ka. So the death is harder to determine. Pero ang importante, preventable siya. So if ever I hear reports na heat-related illness, dapat yan na-prevent mo. Yun yung message ko ngayong tanghali na there are ways to prevent heat-related illness. Itong mga heat indices natin na nire-report, I've never seen this before. So talagang very extreme. Luckily, people are more educated. Ako, to me, very important yung, anong tawag dito? Yung BIMPO, cooling your body. The way to cool people is really on the head, where you lose a lot of body heat, in the armpits, in the neck, and in the mga body area. So pag nag-cool down ka earlier, the better mo ma-prevent yung progression. Remember, progressive ang heat illness. Di ka naman papatayin like a gunshot wound. Slowly yan eh. So the sooner maramdaman ng tao yung condition, the better alis ka kaagad dun sa environment na yon, mag-cool down ka na in a air-conditioned room or in some area.
People bathe more frequently because of the heat. How much will it impact our water supply?
So hindi ko nga ma-recommend yan. That is actually one of the recommendations. Kaya ang nire-recommend ko lang yung BIMPO. Kasi pag nire-recommend ko mag-shower ka 3 times a day during the heat, maubos naman yung tubig para sa tubigan. Drought na nga. Pagkatapos, mawalan tayong pagkain. So ang payo ko talaga is also conserve water. You heard the report. Bumababa yung water levels in our water collection area. So very important then to conserve water and use it wisely.
Dagdag ko lang, may technology naman dyan na simple. May mga electric fan tayong may misting. So nakakatulong yon. So maraming gawang Pinoy dyan na electric fan na nagmi-mist. So makakatulong ng malaki.
Sige, another DIY. Alam niyo mga pinang-spray natin sa alcohol? Ang dami natin nun eh. Actually, you can put water there and use that as a regular spray and moisturizer because you have nagda-dry up ka kaagad. So it's good for your skin yung ini-spray natin ng alcohol. Tubig lang ilagay mo. It also has a cooling effect. Yung pa pala isang pwede, aside from the BIMPO.
Before we continue with the Q&A, would like to acknowledge the presence of Director Michael Christopher Matay of DSWD. So kung napapansin niyo po sa mga interview, sa mga pahayag, hindi lang po kami nag-e-emphasize sa tulong na ibinibigay po sa mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Pinatututukan rin po ng ating Pangulo ang mga individual po na nangangailangan ng tulong dahil po sa whether sa tindi po ng init o dahil po nagkaroon po ng krisis sa tubig sa kanilang lugar. So kung meron din kayong katanungan para sa DSWD, nandito po ang kanilang kinatawan.
When it comes to early action, matagal na kaming meeting para dito at pagdating sa DOST ay nabanggit na rin ng Pag-asa nung June pa na posibleng magkaroon ng El Nino at ang maraming mga ahensya ng gobyerno ay handa. Gusto ko lang bigyan ng konteksto yung suggestion ng Emergency Summit. Ito ay patungkol sa climate change problem. But if you really look at it, ang Pilipinas ay isa sa mga bansang nagsasuffer sa epekto ng global warming na ang nagdulot naman ito ay pagsusunog ng mga fossil fuel ng ibang bansa. At meron tayong mas malaking platform for discussing this, no? Pagdating sa greenhouse gas mitigation. At ito'y tinututukan nga ng mga lahat ng bansa. Every year meron tayong mga conference of parties meeting. Pero dito sa usapin natin ngayon, pagdating sa El Nino at posibleng La Nina, ay matagal na tayong naghanda. Pero yung sinasabi mong issue na binanggit ng environmental group, ay tama naman po yun. Indeed, malaking problema yung continuing global warming. At isa na rin ito sa manifestation ng posible pang magiging epekto ng panahon sa mga susunod na taon. Because the background temperature of the Earth is increasing.
Yusek, David, kumusta yung allocation ng NWRB for Metro Manila? Nabawasan na ba? Are we prioritizing? Magbabawas na ba tayo? And what are we facing kung magbabawas tayo?
Thanks, Maki. Ang allocation po ng tubig mula sa Angat papunta sa mga users nito, hindi lang Metro Manila, kundi yung ating farmers sa Bulacan at Pampanga at pati water supply ng parte ng Bulacan ay dinedecide po yan ng National Water Resources Board, of which Sec. Tony Loizaga is the chair. For the month of May, full allocation po ang ibibigay ng NWRB for NIA because May is the last month of their cropping season. They will soon harvest their crops, no, rice in May, no, towards the second half of May. Kaya bibigay po nating allocation dyan ay full allocation para hindi masayang yung ating cropping season, 24 cubic meters per second for NIA. For MWSS, we will be providing full allocation to MWSS from May 1 to May 15, 50 cubic meters per second, which is actually 2 cubic meters per second higher than in previous years. Nagdadagdag po tayo ng allocation sa Metro Manila dahil lumalaki yung ating consumer base. Tumataas din ang konsumo per person sa Metro Manila at maging yung demand mula sa Bulacan na nagbibigay rin tayo ng tubig doon ay tumataas din. So 50 cubic meters per second for May 1 to May 15. Yan po ang allocation natin since January. So sapat na sapat ang ating allocation for May 1 to 15. However, I should mention that even if we have full allocation for May 1 to May 15, our secretary is recommending to us, no, and the agencies to do a prescribed conservation action, PCA. Ang ibig sabihin ng prescribed conservation action, ang ibig sabihin po niyan ay kailangan lahat po tayo ay to chip in conserving water. Naglabas kami ng conservation bulletin a month ago. Pinagbabawal na po yung mga activities gaya ng pagdilig ng ating garden at mga halaman gamit ang garden hose. 6 liters per minute po ang gamit ng tubig pagka garden hose ang ginagamit natin. Pwede pa rin ang tabo at timba. Bawal na rin pong hugas ng driveway at maglinis ng kotse gamit ang garden hose. Pwede pa rin ang timba at basahan. Pwede pa rin. Pero gamit ang garden hose, pinagbabawal na po yan sa Metro Manila. Ang mga golf course po natin ay usually may sarili pong water supply, yung mga kanilang reservoir, and therefore most of them will be independent of the supply coming from Angat. Gaya dito sa Camp Aguinaldo, hindi po sila gumagamit ng tubig mula sa MWSS. Yung prescribed conservation action na nire-recommenda ni Sec. Tony ay i-implement natin nitong May kahit nasapat pa ang supply ng tubig. Kumbaga, practice ito dahil base sa projections ng Pag-asa, at least 2 months of drought conditions pa yung ating kailangan malagpasan, no? Itong May at June. Kaya kahit sapat pa yung ating tubig, magpa-practice na tayo ng conservation action natin. Yan lang po.
Sir, sorry lang, Maki. Clarification, when you say pinagbabawal po, meron pong fine o may kaakibat na parusa po? Kasi tinatanong po yan.
Wala pong fine, pero meron po tayong mga DNR personnel na umiikot para sabihan yung ating mga residente doon sa mga, hindi lang naman doon sa mga bawal na activities, kundi mga water conservation tips. Gaya ng sa gabi, kunwari, kung gusto nyo malaman kung may leak sa bahay ninyo, incidentally, ang leaks natin sa Metro Manila can still be up to 30% ang nawawala. Tingnan po ang kontador ng inyong tubig kapag wala nang gumagamit ng tubig sa bahay. So late at night or early in the morning, kapag umiikot pa po yung dial kahit na wala namang gumagamit, definitely you have a leak. Conservation ito ng ating supply, but at the same time, makakatipid sa expenses natin sa tubig.
Asek, like everyone's concerned about, magkaka-brown out ba tayo sa Luzon dahil hindi na tayo naalis sa yellow?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Maki. I wish to provide muna yung latest update as of 1 p.m., no, which I just received. So, nag-extend po yung ating yellow alert for Luzon. Instead na mag-start siya ng 3 p.m., mag-start na siya ng 2 p.m., maglala siya until 5 p.m., then yung 6 o'clock natin, yung 8 o'clock supposedly maging 6 o'clock until 11 p.m. No, for Visayas, there is also a declaration of yellow alert. Kanina po, wala pa. But now, meron na. So, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock and then 6 to 8 p.m. Ano po yung reasons? Bigla po ulit tumaas yung demand. Mas tumaas siya kaysa dun sa projections natin. And the cause of the yellow alert for Visayas in particular, meron pong isang planta tayo nagkaroon na naman ng unplanned outage. Ito po yung isang geothermal power plant natin sa Leyte with 160 megawatts when it was on unplanned outage. And then we have also a decrease of the capacity of GN Power Kauswagan in Mindanao from 115 to 61. So na-limit yung transfer capacity of our Mindanao-Visayas Interconnection Project. Now, dun sa tanong mo naman, kailan tayo magkakaroon ng brownout? At yellow alert po, ini-emphasize namin, wala tayong brownouts. Ang ibig lang sabihin po ng ating yellow alert is that we have sufficient capacity to supply for all the demands. Ang problema lang po natin dyan is we don't have enough reserve if the biggest power plant connected to a specific grid ay biglang magkaroon ng unplanned outage. So like for example, yung kanina nabanggit ko sa Visayas, 160 megawatts is not the biggest facility in Visayas. So kayang suportahan nung sistema, kaya nag-yellow alert lang siya. Hindi siya bumagsak ng red kagad. Dahil lang red, ibig sabihin, kulang na talaga both the supply, the reserve to fill up yung demand. No? So dito po, wala pa tayong nakikitang brownout as long as we can maintain the yellow alert to a certain level. Kaya lang kailangan namin ng coordination and cooperation of power consumers. Kasi when it comes to, kagaya nito, continuous yung pagtaas po ng ating demand. Kanina wala, biglang nagkaroon ngayon sa Visayas, then sa Luzon, from a much later time na advance natin. So kung mababawasan natin ng konti yung demand natin, then we should not worry and prevent any possible red alert. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mikhail Flores of Reuters. Secretary Solidum, just to clarify, so the end of El Nino will be longer than earlier forecast? Tama po ba?
The El Nino is ending. but the drought condition persists because of the transition from El Nino to La Nina, and based on historical evidence also that the transition would be coincidental with the delayed rainfall, kulang ang moisture. So, yung effect ng El Nino na drought, nandyan pa rin ngayon, pero yung dagdag na drought ay kasama na doon sa delayed rainfall.
And because of that, the rainy season will not start until August.
No, there's rain in May, but yung kadalasan na maulan na talaga by May, na delay.
Okay.
Talagang sa August na ang talagang normal.
Okay, so May, June, and July, below normal rainfall.
Yes.
Yusek CP, you mentioned that the level of Angat is falling at a rate of 0.4 meters to 0.5 meters daily.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that while supply is still enough, the rate of decline is quite alarming.
Yes.
Based on the projections, will there be a point where the supply is not enough and we'll be experiencing interruptions and rationing of water supply?
Okay. Ang maganda po nating ginawa dyan ay this early, no, even before umabot tayo sa ganitong level, naghahanda na tayo ng mga intervention measures natin. Kung natatandaan nyo po noong 2019, yan yung pinaka-grabing interruptions, no, in recent times, no, nag-iigib yung mga taga Metro Manila noon. I don't think we will reach that point because number one, in the case of MWSS, we are activating another outlet kung saan lumalabas yung tubig at a lower level. Worst comes to worst, we will use that outlet called the low-level outlet para may mapagkunan pa rin tayo ng tubig pagka mababa na ang level ng Angat. Just the same, no, ang first benchmark natin sa water level ay was still 180 meters. Ito yung minimum operating level ng Angat Dam na kung saan ito yung nagsisignal na dapat magbawas na ng allocation starting with agriculture, no, and then domestic supply. Pero gaya nung nasabi ko, nandun na tayo sa last mile na ito ng cropping season nila, at kung tinigil pa natin yung allocation at this point in time, masasayang yung dry season cropping natin. And therefore, we give full allocation to irrigation, and we harvest, no, by the end of May. Dito naman sa domestic supply, walang pagbabawas po ng supply sa ngayon, pero magkakaroon na tayo ng yung prescribed conservation action natin.
Secretary Herbosa, you mentioned that the heat-related deaths that you've monitored are questionable. Can you expound on that? And how many questionable deaths have you monitored so far? And how could you determine whether these deaths are actually directly related to the heat, or whether it's just...
So these are reported to us from the provinces, from a specific area. Kaya parang ang dami, nag-cluster, 6 cases of deaths. And it's only in one area. So we still have to investigate kung talagang heat-related nga. Kasi nga, pwedeng ibang illness, tapos nagkataon mainit din ang panahon. So, ano yan hindi yan direct causality. Naalala nyo dati, di ba? Pwedeng namatay siya, pero nagkataon lang mainit yung panahon. Baka talagang nag-heart attack siya or nag-stroke siya. So, yun yung kailangan namin ma-investigahan. Kaya we can't report it as number of deaths already.
Saan ito, sir, and over what period itong anim?
Ito since January. These are 34 heat-related illness reported in our hospitals. Tapos itong 6 suspicious sa amin to na kasi it's only in one place in Mindanao.
Sir, yung 34 are heat-related illnesses, and then 6 of which
plus 6 na deaths.
Plus 6. Thank you, sir.
For your information, kasi ang heat-related illness, marami dyan hindi na na-hospital. Kasi the moment you develop cramps or you develop fatigue, you don't need to go to the hospital. The only people that are brought to the hospital is the one that undergoes a heat stroke. A heat stroke is the one where you lose consciousness. So yung and yan varying degrees. So ang hirap i-monitor kasi ang nare-report lang namin yung nadala sa ospital, di ba? So ngayon yung mga may risk mamatay, yun yung may ibang sakit. na pwedeng mamatay from that illness. So, mas maingat ako. Kaya sabi ko, yun yung mga high-risk individuals, very young and very old.
Sir, Jack Batallones from ABS-CBN kay Yusek David, sir. Sir, yung sinabi nyo kanina yung mga conservation measures, yung paggamit ng garden hose sa mga houses, sa pag-clean. Paano, sir, yung mga businesses, like mga car wash, paano yan? Pagbabawalan nyo po ba sila? Ano yung mga ginagawa po natin?
Hindi pa po pinagbabawalan ng car washes ngayon. In fact, kung mapapansin nyo, marami sa mga car washes natin may katabing laundromat, laundry place, dahil ang ginagamit nilang tubig ay yung nire-recycle nila yung mula doon sa laundry place. Marami rin silang intervention. Nakausap ko yung ilan sa kanila, yung mga power hoses nila actually use less water than when we clean our own cars with a garden hose. So, sa ngayon, wala pa pong pinagbabawal na businesses.
Kay Secretary Herbosa. Sir, although ngayon ginagawa na ng DepEd na may mga class ina-adjust niya, would you suggest, sir, na magko-continue yung mga ganyan? Ano po yung mabibigay natin na suggestion?
Ano yan, case-to-case basis yan, and we cannot make a general policy. Alam ko there are discussions to move the schedule of classes again back to heat, but parang in our cabinet meeting, parang it's not that easy to just convert. Kasi paliliitin mo yung school break ba? So, they're still discussing how to decrease that and bring it back to the time na hindi masyadong mataas itong mga asynchronous. So that's a judgment call of the principal and the ambient temperature nung kanilang klima doon sa classroom and learning area. So ako, kasi pwede mo rin isolve yun. Pa-aircon natin yung classroom ng mga bata. Sa private school, ganun ang ginawa eh. Pina-aircon ng mga bata. So hindi nila kailangan mag-suspend at In fact, mas gusto pa ng bata pumasok sa school kasi aircon yung eskwela. Ganun din sa'yo sa opisina. Kung hindi, nasa opisina ka, naka-aircon yung office mo. Kung nasa bahay ka, mag-on ka ng aircon, magbabayad ka ng kuryente. Ninipis yung supply. So, it's really a per principal or per school activity. Diyan, iba-iba. Nakita niyo yung report ng Pag-asa. Iba-iba yung heat indices sa bawat geography. So, hindi siya pwedeng parang generic.
Bago lang, ugaliin sa ating mga kababayan na kung kaya nilang mag-check ng website ng Pag-asa, 10-day forecast every Monday and Thursday. Meron po silang mga forecast. Para at least, meron silang basihan kung anong decision nila.
Just add, no, there is scientific basis that if the climate or the temperature is cool, the brain functions better. Kasi the moment you start having vasodilatation or naglo-lose ka ng heat and energy, kailangan kasi mag-thermoregulate ang katawan eh. You use more energy than brain function. So if you want good learning environment, kaya mga library malalamig eh. Kasi mas nakaka-aral ka at nakaka-absorb ka ng lesson. So I agree with DepEd when they start to declare asynchronous kasi siguro napakainit talaga ng classroom.
Last na lang from my end, kay Sec Solido. Sir, naabot na ba natin yung peak na pinakamainit or will it get worse?
Hindi pa, pero papasa ko na sa Pag-asa yan kasi the topic is very hot. I'll pass it on to them.
Thank you very much for the question. Actually, according to our analysis, historically, mas mainit ang May. So, we are still expecting to have a warmer temperature. Well, actually, according to our forecast, for at least focus tayo dito sa Metro Manila, no, we are expecting that it's about 36.5 to 38.3 degrees Celsius, yung maximum temperature natin for the month of May. 38.3. That's maximum temperature. But if you are going to include yung relative humidity, if we look at heat index, that would be about 2 to 10 degrees Celsius warmer. Yung parang mararamdaman natin. Yeah, that's roughly in NAIA and Quezon City. Actually, the values of heat index for NAIA and Quezon City are close to each other. No? For example, no. So for yesterday, actually, same na yung NAIA and Science Garden sa Quezon City. 43 degrees Celsius yung kanilang heat index na record yesterday. And today, we're expecting to reach about 43 degrees Celsius for NAIA in Pasay City and then 42 degrees Celsius in Quezon City.
Gusto ko lang pa-explain kay Dr. Mar na 53 degrees sa iba Zambales, pero beyond that, fudgy na yung numbers pag sumobra sa 53 kasi calculated. Paki-explain para lang maliwanag.
Yes, tama po. Kahapon is 53 degrees Celsius sa iba, sa Zambales. But again, yun po, kapag beyond that value, halimbawa, kasi ang gusto po ninyong malaman is all-time record, Kung all-time record, mas maganda po natin tignan yung maximum temperature kasi ito yung instrumental using yung thermometer. Pero yung kapag beyond 53 degrees Celsius, yung na-compute natin na heat index, that's unrealistic na yung values beyond that.
Sir, you were citing Metro Manila expected temperature for May when we asked that for the record, comparison to the record.
Yes, according to our forecast po for the month of May, it's 38.3 degrees Celsius, at least yung maximum temperature range for Metro Manila. And that's on the average, actually, in Metro Manila, that's 38.5. So roughly about 0.3 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry. The all-time high in Metro Manila is 38.5. Then definitely about 0.3 degrees Celsius warmer pa as compared to the all-time high.
Sir, when was this yung all-time high?
That's way back in May 14, 1987. And that's also a strong El Nino year.
Pero para maintindihan nyo lang yung physiology niyan, ang body temperature is 37 to 37.5 normally. That means your body has to keep that temperature para hindi ka magkaroon ng damage sa cells mo at hindi ka mamatay. At about 40 na heat index, actually nagko-coagulate na yung itlog eh. Ilagay mo yung itlog that will cook. So kita nyo lang, if you have a high heat index, staying longer outdoor without, will push your body to thermoregulate. Mas mabilis kang magkakaroon ng heat-related illness in those areas. So mas shorter dapat yung work area mo, work time mo, in that conditions na dinidescribe nila. So yun yung advice ko. Or kundi dapat protected ka talaga from the heat. Pero either way, dapat i-protect natin because this is danger. Kita mo yung heat index na color, that is danger to our bodies. Our bodies, ang body natin will produce heat pagka ikaw ay nasa cold environment at pag ikaw ay nasa hot environment, it will try to release heat. So nagbabasodilate ka, magko-collapse yung circulation mo unang maapektuhan kasi you'll try to cool the body. So hindi ka pwede talagang matagal in that condition outside.
Yusek Marsigan, you mentioned that we will have no brownouts even if we have yellow alerts, unless there's a breakdown of a significant proportion. But we've been in red several times, sir. What does that mean? How close are we to being in a brownout, to being in an outage when we have a red alert?
Thank you very much for the question. When we do have red alert, that means it becomes difficult for the system to maintain supply sufficiency. So, meron ng eminent na rotating brownouts pagka naka-red alert tayo. Unless we are able to immediately implement yung mga contingency measures natin. Like for example, on April 16 when we had the first red alert, Meralco on its part was able to activate its interruptible load program. And this means that big consumers tried to deload from the grid. Ang ginagawa nila, hindi sila kumukuha ng capacity or na electricity sa grid, ibinababa nila yung kanilang demand, and at times, nagge-generate sila ng kanilang sariling generation. So we were able to activate about 300 megawatts coming from the ILP participants. So dito sa franchise area ng Meralco, for example, at that time, even if meron tayong red alert, naiwasan natin yung rotating brownouts. Wala tayong load dropping na nangyari within the Meralco franchise area. Doon sa ibang lugar, nagkaroon, pero panandalian lang siya. Within 1 hour, naibalik agad ulit. So, how close are we to red alert, to brownouts pag meron tayong red alert? Well, there is a potential, but as long as we can have our contingency measures, may iwasan pa rin natin ang brownout. Thank you.
Follow up, sir. Based on the demand so far, demand trend so far this year, and based on the figures mentioned by Secretary Solidum and the Pag-asa scientists, what are the chances? How would you rate the chances of a power outage?
Well, thank you po for the question kasi we have actually consulted Pag-asa na, and DOST. And we have DOST and Pag-asa provided us information relative to yung prevailing temperatures natin that will continue to increase until the third or last week of May, no? The third week of May, to be exact. Meron silang binigay sa aming information. And then we try to correlate yung power situation natin ngayon with those increase in temperatures. So nakita naman namin na merong correlation yung dalawa, yung increase in demand together with the increase in temperatures. And from there, we simulated various scenarios. Again, there is the potential na magkaroon tayong yellow alert. Ang makakapag-augment naman sa atin dito is yung incoming new projects that are scheduled to be online within the month of May or June. So yun yung tutulong sa atin para makakope dun sa ating supply. But considering natin na yung what we have now is only what we have, then there is a big potential of yellow alert. Thank you.
Asek Mario, how many power plants remain offline, and what's the total capacity that are not that they have na hindi nakaka-contribute sa supply?
Okay, thank you very much. For the big power facilities that are offline, we have two majors. No, yun yung dito sa Luzon is the Masinloc Unit 1 with 334 megawatts capacity. And then in Visayas, we have the Palm Concepcion Power Corporation's Sol Unit to 135 megawatts. But we have durations on big power plants, like for example, yung Ilihan gas facility natin. Instead of running at 1,200, it's running only at around 600 to 900 megawatts. So meron tayong derating na 300 megawatts. Then beyond that, maliliit na mga project. And what impact us at the moment are the reduction of capacities coming from our hydropower facilities. Kasi we are down to an average of 42% na lang pagdating dun sa utilization natin ng water for power generation. In fact, some of them, on the average yung 42% because some of our facilities have already stopped operation. So, ganun yung we have some facilities running at sabihin natin higher than 50% capacity. But the average is already now down to 42%. Thank you.
Sir, yung 1,000 megawatts that will be commissioned in Q2 ba? Tama, or Q3? So, mostly REs ito. So, these aren't going to be part of the base load. So, mostly peaking sila. Tama ba?
Well, most of these are solar power projects. So, they will be contributing to during the daytime demand, no? And most especially during the afternoon peak. So, yung afternoon peak natin is happening between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock up to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yusek CP, you mentioned earlier that most of the water shortage that we're seeing are in the western parts of the country. Why is that the case, sir?
Mars, baka ikaw ang sumagot dito. Well, kung titingnan po natin kasi doon sa assessment natin, typically during this March, April, and even earlier, February, ang dry conditions po kasi nandito sa western section kasi ito yung
amihan kasi tayo, amihan season. And then prior to transition, which is pagdating na ng March and April. So definitely, itong western section, typical na less ang ulan dito. Almost wala po actually.
Go ahead, sir. Hindi pa. May update lang po from NDRRMC, which I will give, and then DSWD po. So, update lang po from NDRRMC in terms of the state of calamities that have been declared. So, in terms of entire provinces, nadagdagan po ng isang probinsya yung nagdeklara ng state of calamity. This is South Cotabato, which brings us to 7 entire provinces. So, Occidental Mindoro, Antique, Sultan Kudarat, Maguindanao del Sur, Maguindanao del Norte, Basilan, and then South Cotabato. We're still trying to do the math, pero in terms of municipalities and cities, nasa 127 cities and municipalities po ito. So, itong buong probinsya po ang nagdeklara ng state of calamity. So, siguro po, Sir Director Matay, can we get an update on the interventions and the help that DSWD has given po? At saka ilan po ba ang affected individuals or families na natulungan na po?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. With DSWD, Secretary Rex Gatchalian instructed the field offices that are affected by El Nino to provide 6 liters of drinking water with the usual family food packs that are given to the affected families by El Nino. And aside from this, Pag-asa was able to forecast yung mga affected municipalities ng El Nino. So before El Nino, we were able to do projects in partnership with the Department of Agriculture and the World Food Program na mag-construct or gumawa ng mga water reservoirs. This is called Project Lawa that will have water for the farmers and the fisher folks. So as of now, a total of 628,400 families or 2.6 million persons are affected in 3,477 barangays. And a total of 95 million plus worth of assistance was provided to affected families, composed of 89 million pesos from DSWD and 666,000 plus from LGUs and 5.4 million from other partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Matay. Sir, siguro, let's wrap it up. Last question na po from AFP.
Secretary Solido, for television cameras, can you summarize what the Filipinos can expect over the coming months in terms of the heat, in terms of their power supply, in terms of their water supply, and what can they do to help this government alleviate the
Okay, nabanggit na kanina ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno na dahil nabagyan natin ng maagang forecast ang posibleng mangyari dahil sa El Nino last year pa, ay nagtulong-tulong na ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno na matugunan ng agaran ang mga posibleng mangyayari. Kaya ang DNR ay nagpapatuloy na bantayan ang supply ng tubig at mag-allocate sila ng tama na mauna yung mga kailangang ma-harvest ng mga pagkain, ng mga crops, and of course, siyempre, yung power generation. At nabanggit din nila na kailangan na rin nating tulungan ang gobyerno para naman masigurado na patuloy yung supply ng tubig sa pamamagitan ng conservation, no? Pagtitipid sa paggamit ng tubig. Ang Department of Energy naman ay nakaplano na ang kanilang mga ginagawa at sinabi na with a long-term plan to establish more power generation, ay magiging mas okay ang supply ng ating kuryente. Sana nga ay wala nang magkaroon ng unplanned breakdown ng mga planta para hindi tayo makaranas ng mga brownout. Ang DA naman sa paggamit ng kanilang mga partners at sa tulong ng Pag-asa ay nabigyan ng karampatang mga steps. Hindi lang nabanggit, marami na tayong binabanggit about DA, yung early harvest, yung alternate wetting and drying, at syempre binabantayan pa rin nila yung patuloy na cropping nila at hindi maapektuhan ng delayed rainfall. At ina-assure pa naman sa ngayon ng DNR na pa-prioritize natin ang irrigation sa mga halaman. Gusto ko lang ma-emphasize na kahit po may El Nino, ang kadalasang tanong po kasi ay mas matindi ba ang El Nino ngayon o drought ngayon kaysa dati? Ito po ay masasagot natin sa dalawang perspektibo. Una, yung meteorological impact ng El Nino matindi, mainit. No? Minsan ay kulang ang ulan. Pero dahil sa paghahanda ng pamahalaan, yung epekto naman ng El Nino sa atin sa supply ng tubig, sa agrikultura, at sa kuryente at sa kalusugan ay naiibsan because of the science forecast and the maagang implementation ng mga solutions ng government. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, Secretary Solidum, who is also the co-chair of Task Force El Nino. Thank you very much din po sa ating panelists at saka sa members of the media who are present. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.